There are different factors involved when preparing for a live visual performance. Knowing what type of displays and the resolution of your output beforehand is important. These details will help you prepare compositions ahead of time, which is what we'll be doing. Let's create and save 3 compositions for different setups we may encounter. The first is for an output that displays in the 4:3 aspect ratio. Here we have a new composition loaded. Go into the Composition menu and click on Settings. Since this is our 4:3 composition, let's rename this to 4:3 output and choose 640 by 480 for our resolution. Feel free to include a description as well. Then click on Apply. Next, let's set up our layers so that any content we trigger will be resized to fit the 640 by 480 resolution we chose. Click on Layer 1. Under the Layer panel, change the Auto Size mode to Fill. Fill will retain the aspect ratio of your source content and fill the entire output. You can use whichever mode here fits your needs. In some cases, you may want to stretch or fit the content, so try out the various modes to see what works for you. Let's change the settings of our other 2 layers. Click on Layer 2, and under the Layer panel, change the Auto Size mode to Fill. Lastly, do the same for Layer 3. Now any triggered clip, no matter what layer it's on, will be resized and output to 640 by 480. If you decide to add more layers, don't forget to change the Auto Size mode so that any content triggered on that layer will conform to the 4:3 aspect ratio. Click on the Composition menu and save. The next composition we'll create is similar to the first one we went over, but instead of a 4:3 output, we'll be working with 16:9. This is the default when creating a new Resolume composition. Go into the Composition menu and click on Settings. Let's rename this to 16:9 output, and choose 1920 by 1080 for our resolution. Click on Apply. As with our previous composition, we'll want any triggered content to conform to 16:9. To do so, we need to change the Auto Size mode to Fill. Let's go into the layer properties of each of our layers to set that up. On layer 1, let's load some 4:3 content. And on layer 2, some 720p 16:9 content. When we preview this 4:3 content, notice that it does not fill the frame. Same thing with the 720p content. Now when we trigger these clips on the respective layers, they're resized to fit our 1080p output with the 16:9 aspect ratio as seen in the output monitor. Don't forget to save your composition by clicking Save in the Composition menu or using the keyboard shortcut Command S on Mac or Control S on PC. The last composition we'll create is for a dual HD display output. Let's click on the Composition menu and create a new composition. For this hypothetical setup, let's assume that our output consists of 2 16:9 displays combined as one main output. Let's change our composition settings to reflect this. First, let's rename this composition to Dual Display. In the description, let's note that this setup is for 2 16:9 displays combined. Under the size, we'll double the current width of 1920, our current 16:9 setting, which becomes 3840. We can leave the height alone since it won't change. Alternatively, you can click on the arrow and choose the 2x HD setting. Click Apply. Our output monitor now reflects the new size of our composition. Let's drag the output monitor panel below our deck so that we can have a better view of our output. Click on the output monitor settings and select Side by Side to have a larger view of our preview monitor as well. Since we're working with 2 16:9 displays, let's set up 2 layers to display 16:9 content on the left display and the other on the right. We want content triggered on layer 1 to be resized to 16:9, and we also want it displayed on the left side of our output. First, let's load some content and trigger a clip on layer 1. Notice that it's currently centered. Let's change the width value to 1920 and change the auto size mode to fill. so that whatever content we trigger on this layer conforms to the 16:9 aspect ratio. To position this content to the left, we can change the position X value to -960. Let's do the same for layer 2. Trigger a clip on layer 2. Change the width value to 1920. To reposition this layer to the far right, change the position X value to 960. Finally, let's set up layer 3 so that any content triggered on this layer will fill the entire output. Click on layer 3 and change the auto size mode to fill. Now any clip triggered on layer 3 will fill the entire composition. Any content triggered on layer 1 or 2 will be positioned and scaled accordingly as well. This dual setup can be expanded to 3, 4, or however many outputs your computer can handle with this method. Click on the composition menu and save, or use the keyboard shortcut Command S if you're on a Mac, or Control S for PC. With our 3 different composition setups saved, you can now easily access them by clicking Open or Open Recent in the composition menu. They're also available under the composition panel. Use these templates when building compositions for different shows.